All right, today we're going to go on a financial investigation. We're on the hunt for something that's hidden deep inside a company's reports. It's a kind of secret liability that, once you uncover it, can totally change how you see a business and what you think it's actually worth.
So let's start with a really fundamental question. What makes a company valuable? Is it just the stuff it legally owns, the buildings and equipment it has a title for? Or is it everything it controls to make money, even the things it doesn't technically own? This very question, believe it or not, is the key to our whole investigation. And the answer is hiding in something super common: leases.
So that brings us to leases. Are they just a simple rent payment every month? Or are they something, well, something more? Let's break down the two very different ways you can look at this.
On one hand, you've got the traditional accounting view. A lease is just rent. It's an expense, a bill you pay, and that's it. Simple, right? But as sharp financial analysts, they see a totally different story. They see a long-term, binding promise to make payments. And you know what that sounds like? That sounds a whole lot like debt. To them, the company is basically taken out a loan to get control of an asset it needs.
So how do we actually see a lease the way an analyst does? Well, we use this really powerful technique called lease capitalization. Think of it like a financial time machine. It's the tool that lets us grab all those future payments the company has promised to make and yank them all back to today. That way, we can see their true combined value on the books right here and now.
Okay, enough theory. Let's get practical and actually do this. We're going to take those invisible promises floating out in the future and make them solid and visible. This is where the real work begins.
Now, I know this table might look a little intense, but the idea behind it is actually super simple. We're just trying to figure out what all those future payments are worth in today's money. I mean, $1 in your pocket right now is worth more than $1 you're promised next year, right? Because you can invest it. That's all this discount factor is doing. It's bringing that future money back to its present value. So we just multiply each future payment by its discount factor, and then we add them all up.
And there it is, $27.1 million. This is the magic number. And it's not just some random figure. This represents the total present-day value of all those future lease promises. This is the hidden debt we've been looking for.
So where does this number go? Right here. Take a look at the liabilities side of the balance sheet. We've just created a brand new line item called operating lease for exactly $27.1 million. Suddenly, that hidden debt is right out in the open. But remember, accounting is all about balance. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. In exchange for that $27.1 million liability, the company gets an asset of the exact same value. It's called a right of use asset. And this represents the company's valuable legal right to actually use that property for the entire lease term.
Now here's where things get really interesting. Making this one single adjustment, it doesn't just stop there. It sets off a chain reaction, like tipping over the first domino in a long line, and it sends ripples through all of the company's financial statements.
Just look at this adjusted balance sheet. Before we did this, these huge numbers were completely invisible. Now you can clearly see the right of use assets up top and the operating leases liability down below. The company itself is the same, but our picture of it is completely different. It's now a bigger company with more assets and, yeah, a lot more debt. And those dominoes keep falling right onto the income statement. Because we're treating the lease like a loan now, part of what used to be called rent expense is now reclassified as interest expense. We then add that interest portion back when we calculate operation profit, or EBITDA. What this does is give us a way cleaner look at how the actual business is performing, separate from how it chooses to finance things. And all of these little changes, they all flow down into one of the most important numbers in finance: free cash flow. This is the actual cash the business is kicking off, the money that's left over to pay back debt, grow the company, or pay out to shareholders. By adjusting for leases, we get a much more accurate picture of the company's true cash-generating ability. All right, the investigation is complete. We've collected our evidence. We've adjusted all the numbers. Now it's time for the big finale, putting all these pieces together to figure out what this company is really, truly worth. First, we'll use a tried and true method: discounted free cash flow. This approach basically looks at all the cash the company is expected to make in the future to figure out the total value of its operations today. Okay, let's walk through it. We take our new and improved free cash flow numbers and discount them back to today's value.
That gives us a total value of operations of $87.4 million. But we're not done. We have to subtract all the claims on that value, so the company's original debt and our newly uncovered lease debt, or $27.1 million. And what's left after all that? That's the equity value for the shareholders, $52.4 million. Now, you always want to double-check your work, right? So let's come at this from a completely different angle, using a method called cash flow to equity, just to see if we get the same answer. So this method is different. It calculates cash flow after all the debt payments are made, so it's only looking at what's left for shareholders. It's a different calculation, uses a different discount rate, but look at that. The final number is the exact same. Now that's when you know you've got it right.
$52.4 million. We took two completely different paths, used two different sets of math, and they both led us to one single truth. By taking the time to properly account for that hidden lease debt, we found the company's real equity value.
So what did we really learn here? Well, we learned how to see through the surface of the financial statements. This isn't just some accounting trick. It's like having financial X-ray vision. You can see the real skeleton of the company, all the hidden debts and the true structure that's holding everything up.
So let's just quickly recap the big points. Number 1, an operating lease is really a form of debt. Number 2, when you capitalize it, you add both a liability and an asset to the books. 3, that one change sets off a domino effect, changing profits, cash flows, everything. And finally, seeing this hidden debt is absolutely essential if you want to understand a company's true financial health and what it's really worth.
You know, we started with a simple question and ended up uncovering a whole new story about this company. A story that was more complex, sure, but also more complete. It just goes to show you, sometimes the biggest secrets are hiding in plain sight. So the question is, now that you know how to look, what other stories are you going to find waiting in the numbers?